right to me. I wanted to ask what tips, I guess, other than the don't talk to cops thing, is there anything that like a layman, non-attorney should know that we all don't? Like one of those things, you know how professions are. A plumber knows all those tricks. Like anything we should know about?
Yeah, I mean, most attorneys don't know shit about most law. There you go. That's one. Most attorneys, you know the most about law when you take the bar. When you take the bar exam. And then after that, your general knowledge of law goes straight off a cliff. And you start to find the things that you do and get paid for. And you start to focus on those things. And you can become very, very good in those specialized areas. But that's why you like, oh, my brother's an attorney. And he's like a tax attorney or like a corporate in-house counsel for press. Like, it's like, okay, well, that guy's going to be useless if you're getting a divorce. Like, you don't want that guy at all. You want to go to your specialization. I think people really underestimate how broad law gets and the amount of reading and research that you need to do to become extremely competent in a field is way out there. I mean, I know we're recording this, but tonight I'm going live. I'm being sued right now.
Oh, shit. What's going on?
It's a long story, but it involves this weirdo named Montegraph, who's been kind of plaguing my channel for what was like 3 years ago. I did an interview with Mr. Mediker because Montegraph was suing this other guy named Jake Morfinos for defamation. And so we were just laughing at his lawsuit. And then I get a phone call from this Montegraph guy, like, to talk to me about my interview with Mediker, and he was really pissed off. And so I was like, okay, you're stupid. And I didn't think anything of it. Well, then he starts like making memes about me. And he's like, I'm part of the sweaty sausage squad or whatever. Look, I don't know, man. He's a weird guy. And he does this. And so I start looking into him. And Mediker had been talking to me about it. He's like, he was an independent film producer, and he produced this one movie called The Umbrella Man. And not to be confused with that Umbrella Guy, but The Umbrella Man is a fictional snuff film involving like a minor girl and all this stuff. And then he had this other video where he was like sexually assaulting a melon, which is weird. He redid the 2 Girls 1 Cup video with a Barbie and a big pile of chocolate yogurt and stuff. And it's this really strange guy.
Okay.
And he was like throwing all these memes and making videos. He's like, I'm gonna make you famous, Nikki. And I'm like, okay, all right, like, I'm on YouTube, let's make it happen. That's what I'm going for.
Yeah, you're looking for views.
And then he just disappeared after a while. And I was like, okay, well then come to October of last year, I get kicked off of YouTube completely. My channel gets deleted for 3 days, and he pops up in my Rumble chat talking about how he's the reason I got canceled and all this stuff, which wasn't true. I could tell you exactly why. It was an activist who I'd pissed off who got me canceled from YouTube. But he was claiming victory for it and all this stuff. And so I just started making fun of him. And now I'm being sued for making fun of him live on air when he came to my chat to like talk a bunch of shit. I was talking shit right back.
So what is the point of like a kind of lawsuit like that? Because as just a layman, it doesn't seem like that would go anywhere. Like, you seem to just be laughing at it. Like,
oh, well, it's ridiculous. It's a defamation suit and intentional infliction of emotional distress. There's all sorts of problems with the emotional distress claims in Minnesota. Like, to prove those out, you have to go get like therapy. You have to get actual mental health damage. You can't just say, well, I was distressed. I missed a day of work. Like, that's not how you prove that out.
Sure.
And he doesn't seem to have anything like that. I guess that could change if the suit goes on. But the defamation claims, it's loss of reputation. Typically, that's associated with loss of income, like you get fired from a job or you miss out on a contract that you would have otherwise gotten. He hasn't really alleged anything like that. He just alleges generally lost income. But hypothetically, if me saying, hey, this guy was on YouTube having sex with a honeydew melon, and that caused him to not get a job with like a produce company or something, I guess he could claim damages that way. But the reason I bring up this thing in this subject very specifically is not just shameless self-promotion, but I could have fought this thing on my own. Like, I know how to fight a defamation case, but I'm not like a specialist. I'm just an asshole. And so I hired Mark Randazza, who's one of the premier defamation defense attorneys in the country. And he filed our motion to dismiss yesterday, and I'll be talking about it tonight. And when you read this motion to dismiss, it has extremely elaborate and intricate legal arguments I would add no concept of making. Like, the amount of research I would have to do to get to what their basic plan seems to be is monumental. It would have taken me, dozens and dozens of hours to even come up with
how many hours it took.
Yeah.
Yep. And
attorneys are great about that.
He sent me the bill for it, and it's not little. It's not little at all.
No, best in the country. I bet that's a premium.
It's not cheap, but yeah, it's the crazy thing is, the funny thing to me is that now Montegraff's lawyer is because I have a feeling he's never done a defamation case, and if he has done one, it's not like this. I know his lawyer, actually. He's a lawyer in my town that he hired, and I know him, and they typically do workers' comp claims, but the legal argument that just got dropped in his lap that he's going to have to research is going to cost Montegraff a fortune, which is hilarious to me. It's great. It's like, okay, let's see you pay for that one, Monty, because my lawyer had that idea, I think, because he knows this area of law so well. Your lawyer doesn't practice multi-state defamation law. And now he's going to have to go into conflict of laws questions because Montegraff's from Colorado and I'm in Minnesota, and he's suing me in Minnesota probably to avoid the anti-slap statute in Colorado because we don't have one. However, the conflict of laws arguments says that Minnesota courts should apply the Colorado anti-slap to him because his damage would have been suffered in Colorado. What damage would this idiot suffer in Minnesota? He doesn't have a Minnesota business.
Oh, okay.
So he's clearly forum shopping. And so there's a very good argument that the laws of Colorado should be applied to him. And now his attorney, who's a Minnesota attorney, is going to be trying to argue conflict of laws and that Minnesota state law should apply to keep the lawsuit even alive at this point. Otherwise, it'll get dismissed and I'll get awarded fees. And that would be catastrophic for, Montegraff. But, if you just hire some guy out of the book here in Minnesota, if I would have just gone to anybody who doesn't specialize in defamation cases, and specifically nationwide defamation cases, I'd just get a bog standard defense on defamation. The same thing I could type up, right? As opposed to what
makes sense,
this
though.
guy's done.
It's the same thing with medicine, right? I bet doctors get annoyed all the time. They're at a party and someone's, hey, can you look at this? Can you look at this thing right here? And it's like, dude, I'm not that kind of fucking doctor.
I'm a podiatrist.
Which is true, but at the same time, there's a little, as a layman, you're as a layman, you're like, yeah, but you know what a fucking staph infection is. So stop being a little bitch about which school you went to for how long, and look at this boil or whatever. Tell me what it is. And the same thing with a lawyer. I'd want to be like, hey, will you look over this contract? Hey, I don't do contract law. Yeah, but you'd notice if somebody misspelled something. Like, come on, take a fucking look, dude. Give me a break.
And there's a huge difference between needing someone to just take a peek at something and give you kind of a general idea. And most contracts, honestly, most contracts in most people's lives don't need that much work. They're basic agreements that go through. Now, when you get into commercial contracts, you're going to lease out a space from a giant chain of commercial property owners, not the guy in town who owns a building, but this massive multinational place that owns buildings in every major city. And you're like, I just want my 1,000 square feet of retail. And then they give you the contract and it's 75 pages. It's like, well, yeah, you want a lawyer to look over that because you're going to get screwed if you don't go through and redline out a bunch of stupid stuff. But, go ahead.
Do you often